Fallschirmjäger haben sich an eine von Amerikanern besetzte Ortschaft herangearbeitet. Mit Unterstützung von Panzern wird im Nahkampf Haus um Haus genommen.
Masterbox released Battle of the Bulge set and actually re-released it, and it has this figure in it of Werner Potsky from the Ardennes, part of Piper's camper group. And I had done a set in the diorama, the rest of the set, using the Americans and one of the Germans in the Stermont video I did. And this guy was left, and I just wanted to do him. He was kind of a side project as I'm working on other stuff. So I put him together, cleaned him up a little bit, and I wanted to fix him up, and I replaced his head with one from I could find. I was looking at Hornet heads, but I didn't like them, so I just found one, I think either from Tamiya or another company, maybe even Mini Art. I don't know, usually their heads aren't that good. But what I did is at least I used his hat, and I had to sculpt on the hair because it just wasn't going to fit right, which is actually pretty good because it made it look a lot better. So I used Magic Sculpt to sculpt his hair back in. It came out pretty good, and his facial features were closer definitely than the head that came with this figure from Mini Art. So I worked it and got the hair on there as best I could, and until I was pleased with it, so I was all set. And I got a base from the craft store. I don't know what these are used for, but I like to flip them around so they're a little bit taller instead of the glass case, plexiglass case fitting inside. I do it so it fits on the outside, and I want to just make sure the figure is going to fit in here and at the right size, and it was just perfect because I knew I had to have the Panzerfaust in front of him laying down, so everything had to fit just right. Well, I knew that I had to do some groundwork, so I laid out a piece of plastic so that way I knew it would fit into the acrylic box, and I knew everything would fit properly once I put the cover back on. I drilled a hole, obviously, for the figure to fit in with a pin in his foot, and did some Magic Sculpt around the edges only because it was complete grass where he was in the scene, which is really boring. I was hoping there was some equipment or whatever, and if I wasn't trying to do a cameo exactly, I'd probably add a lot of stuff in the terrain and all that, but I was gonna make it look just like the scene. And like I said, this was a side project, and when I had materials out, I'd work on it. So all I needed to do was just add grass, basically. So I put PVA glue and then just dumped static grass on. And I go from my static grass kind of repurposed container from other projects, and I just sticked it on there and let it glue on with the PVA glue. It's unfortunate that it didn't have more around the scene, but it is what it is. It would have been better in a larger diorama, but I wasn't going to do the whole thing with the Fallschirmjägers in the background, which at one time I thought about it. So the figure was primed just with black, basically because he's wearing a submarine U-boat jacket and pants. And here I'm just spraying the face with flesh color acrylics. Now I'm going to paint the face, and these are the colors. I went with a wet palette since I really wanted to work on the face a lot, and I think I had this out for another project, so I was like, okay, let's just use it. And all I did was just use all these colors here to do different coats of different opacities for the face, and I could, with my wet palette I can close it up and I could use it on the other project. I had a bunch of Osprey books back in the day before I kind of got out of the hobby, and then of course I've gotten back in the hobby in the last probably two and a half years. I I had a lot of books. I ended up selling them all. So I bought this one on eBay, and I've got obviously this figure in here. He's everywhere, and you can learn a lot about it from this book. And Ron Volstad's illustrations are always amazing, inspirational. And here's Werner Posky in the text here, and as a color plate, you can read about him. So I went about using this as a reference for my painting process. Here's details of him. For the uniform, I used artist oils, and you can see red, blue, black, and white. I wanted the black to have a little bit of a purplish hue, so it was warmer. And I applied the paint very thin over the black. You don't want this to pile on. You want to put it on so basically the black underneath is kind of almost showing through. That's how thin you put the oils on. And it always helps in the blending and the highlights and shadows when it's that thin. You don't want to build up the color. You're actually kind of taking it off. So all I did here was add highlights since it was already black. And of course you just hit the raised areas with the highlight color. And it's kind of hard to see on the shiny oil, but it's a little bit better in person. And so you can see, I talked about this in my other videos, I used a black background so I could see the figure better. And then in the blending, use a clean, dry brush, and keep a paper towel close to you, because after you blend a few areas, you want to clean it off. And then you can start blending again. And all you're really doing is kind of stippling or just smoothing out, just kind of over it, and it blends it into the colors. So that way your shadow and your highlights show through. His gloves, I definitely zoomed in and I could see his gloves are camouflage. So I got out my camouflage reference that I put together in a frame, and I just did his gloves really quick. And they were definitely really quick. They didn't turn out as good as I wanted, but for such small pieces, I think they were effective for this. And they were just done in acrylics. I have the camouflage patterns in a frame that I put together years ago that I can just bring out and kind of look at the colors and the shapes and just really have that near, so you really get the feel of what it looked like, so that way you can do a little bit better job, and you're right there with inspiration and reference, and you can actually just go by the your color swatches I have there for fabric. Then I airbrushed the grass in 2 different tones of green, and I wanted the last one to kind of kill that green color since it's winter time and add a little bit more of a brown texture to it. The figure's dry now, and the details are painted in for his belt and all their other accessories. And then he's ready to go into the base and the hole I put. All right, here's the finished figure. So once again, like I said earlier, I just have stuff on the side sometimes that I work on, and all the videos I've been watching, I just keep seeing this guy. And I know I had him in my reference catalog in my head for a long time since having that book back in the day, the Osprey book. But it was just something to do, and it's more of a conversation piece, I think, than a show piece, because of the just simplicity of it. And it's only really useful for those who know the history behind this character in the Ardennes. So once again, I really appreciate everyone watching my videos. Please ask any questions you'd like and continue to support this hobby. I've been doing it for a long time. Back when I was a kid, my mom would buy me model airplanes when I was sick at home, and I would sit there and make 1/72nd airplanes, monogram, Revell, those things. And it just got me started. But anyhow, take care and stay tuned.
Fallschirmjäger haben sich an eine von Amerikanern besetzte Ortschaft herangearbeitet. Mit Unterstützung von Panzern wird im Nahkampf Haus um Haus genommen.